Recording is on.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBug Yoga. And today we're going to focus a little bit on lengthening through the hip flexors and also on rotation of the spine to release tension in the lower back. So I have a lot of twists for us today. If you have a yoga block, that's going to be nice for a supported bridge. If you don't have a block that can lift your hips up, go grab maybe a small pillow or a thick little book or something that you can put underneath your hips. And we are going to finish with a supported bridge and a nice hip flexor release today. If you don't have any of that equipment, I've got a wonderful alternative for you as well. So we're going to start in a seated position. Come into a comfortable seat. And happy holidays, everyone. I just want you to fill your heart this morning with joy. This time of the year can be joyous, and at the same time, it can be stressful with everything that we need to do and accomplish. It can be sorrowful if we've lost someone in our life recently, and maybe this is our first Christmas without that person, or first Hanukkah, or first holiday without that person. So wherever you are in your life today, I'd like you to just find the breath and release any tension, release any stress, and really let the joy of the holiday season enter into your heart. So find a nice long spine. You can close your eyes if you'd like. And without any guidance from me, I just want you to begin to move through your head to loosen up the neck. So it might be a rotation from side to side, or maybe a side bending of the neck, dropping the ear toward the shoulder, or maybe some gentle rotation. And just finding what feels comfortable for you. And we take notice of any areas that tend to be tight here. And always when we move into the neck, we're very gentle. And very slow with that movement. And just a few more breaths. Allowing that movement just to flow from one to another, or lingering on a movement. If you find a good stretch, you'd like to stay there for a moment. And then let's bring that head to a nice neutral position and blink your eyes open. I will start to do stir the pot. So I have my hands on my knees and I'm going to rotate to the right and then forward, to the left and back up to neutral. We'll take a few in this direction, releasing through the lower back, through the side waist, and maybe even through those hips a little bit. And working through a range of motion that feels comfortable for your body. You can let your shoulders become part of this rotation, dropping one forward and then the other. And last one this direction. Then pause at the midway point, re-lengthen your spine upward, and begin to move starting to the left and down forward and to the right. This can also be done sitting in a chair if that feels a little bit more comfortable for you than on the floor. And I like to sit up on a little bit of a cushion or a blanket, which lifts my hips up a little bit and allows those knees to open comfortably. We'll take 2 more moving this direction. And as you do, just let all tension evaporate from your spine. Clear your thoughts and come into the present moment. And we'll find a nice neutral position. Lengthen the spine upward. Twist to your right. Left hand can come across the right knee. Right hand can move behind you and hold a nice twist here. And the twist moves from the base of the spine through the crown of the head, but the base of the spine has very little bit of ability to rotate. So most of the rotation happens in the mid back and the upper back and in the neck. One more breath, inhale. Exhale back to your neutral position. Re-elongate the spine by sitting up tall. Then twist to the left, right hand comes across. The left hand can be behind you, right behind that tailbone. It almost creates a second spine for your body. You can press down into that hand and lift upward. And breathe into the lower belly and into the side rib cage. One more breath, inhale. And exhale back to neutral. We'll lift the arms up to elongate the spine and drop that right arm and take a nice generous side stretch over to the right without lifting off the left sitting bone. So if we shift our body weight over into the right hip, we can go farther, but I want you to keep pressing down with this left sits bone so all of the length happens in the waist. And when you breathe, fill up the rib cage on this left side, your intercostal space. One more breath here in lateral flexion. And let your exhalation pull yourself back up. Inhale, the arms rise. Exhale, drop that left hand down and side stretch. And we're using our core muscles to keep the pelvis in position. Navel draws slightly in toward the spine. And breathe into this side rib cage. And with the arm, we're reaching upward to stretch the lat muscle, which attaches right here at the arm underneath the armpit. And one more breath, inhale. And exhale, release down. Inhale, both arms just about shoulder height. Exhale and pull your arms back behind you. You can bend your elbows a little bit. I'm squeezing through my shoulder blades to create this opening right through the front of the chest. Keep the abdominals braced. And breathe into the chest. Breathe into the heart. Let the chest expand as you inhale. And fall as you exhale. One more breath. And release those arms down. Now we'll be spending some time on the hands and knees. So if you need a little padding for your knees, you can take a towel, a blanket, or maybe fold your yoga mat a little bit to place the knees upon. If your wrists are sensitive to being on your hands a while, you can come up to the knuckles and make fists for wrists. And lifting the right arm up, we'll do a thread the needle, 3 repetitions. So we'll inhale to stretch. And exhale to feed that arm through the space and drop the right shoulder to touch the mat. And 2 more times. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, reach through. Last one, big deep breath. And this time we'll hold that thread the needle, gently relaxing the right ear toward the mat. And take this left arm and you can bring it up and wrap it behind your lower back. You might be able to feed your fingertips in between the hip crease where your right thigh is. And if that's not comfortable, that left arm can simply reach up toward the top of your mat and stretch open through the lat. One more breath. Then press that left palm back into the mat. Inhale to open back up one more time, stretch. And then just place that right hand to your mat. We'll take it to the left. Inhale, open up that left arm. Big stretch. Exhale, thread the needle. Just gently tapping your shoulder down to the mat. And inhale, reach up. With each repetition, maybe you can go a little bit farther into that twist, both directions. Last one before we hold. And then relax into that twist. Right hand can come behind the back. This gives your shoulder a nice stretch through the front of the shoulder, but sometimes can be uncomfortable, so your option is just to reach upward toward the top of the mat. Sometimes it's difficult to breathe into the belly here, so let the rib cage accept the breath. And then exhaling completely, bring your right hand back underneath the shoulder. Use the strength of your arm to press up, rotate open, inhale. And then exhale, hands down to all fours. And then from here, we'll just tuck the toes underneath, pick the knees up off the mat, a small amount, and then press away from your hands. So I'm pushing way back into a crouch. And start to lift with those legs any amount until you come into your downward facing dog this morning. If your wrists are sensitive, you can lower down to your forearms. And we'll hold here 3 breaths. Allowing your heels to drift toward the mat. Tipping your tailbone up to the sky, lengthening the backs of the legs. One more long, expansive in-breath. And then as you exhale, begin to re-bend those knees, lowering your knees back down to the mat. And we'll keep our toes tucked underneath for toe squat. Now with toe squat, sometimes I like to use my block to sit on because my knees don't like to sit in this position without a little bit of support. So if you need a block, tuck it under your seat. And then what we're doing here is stretching the bottoms of the feet, the toes. If sitting upright is too intense, we can take the hands gently right down in front so there's less body weight both into the knees or into the bottoms of the feet. And we'll hold here 3 breaths. Finishing that last exhalation. Hands come back down to find the mat. If you used a block, you can remove that from your seat. And then we'll leave the left foot tucked underneath and take the right foot and step it forward toward that top edge of your mat. And I really want you to scooch that foot forward so it's at least underneath this front knee, maybe even further out ahead of it. And then walk your back knee back away from you a little bit more. So we're in a nice low lunge. And then we can walk up here and support on the thigh, or bring the palms to the heart center, or sweep the arms and extend up and lengthen. So try to drop your hips forward, and we're opening up this left hip flexor. And if that's too much tension on your foot to keep the back toes tucked under, you can go ahead and let your foot flatten down so that the top of your foot is facing the mat. One more breath. Then as you exhale, reach the hands back down to the mat. Your left hand will stay on the floor or maybe supported up on a block. And let's twist open to the right side and hold. This right arm can reach, or again, we can wrap it behind the back like we did with our thread the needle, which opens up the front of the shoulder, and then use the muscles of the core to add a little bit more rotation. One more breath. We inhale and exhale to lower down. So to switch sides, I like to bring both hands to the inside of my front knee. Then I can just kind of sweep that leg back around, come to a child's pose, or we can come back into our downward facing dog, tucking the toes underneath, lift your knees up off the floor and push back away from your hands. Then unfold those legs any amount and press the heels down. Either pose, child's pose or down dog, 2 more breaths. And then dropping the knees back down to the mat, we'll prepare for our low lunge on the other side. So you can leave these right toes tucked under and take a nice big step forward with your left foot and take your time to get that foot out at least under the knee or maybe slightly ahead of it. And then check to make sure that that right knee is way back behind your hip. And then coming up to support on the thigh, to bring palms at heart center, or to lift the arms and reach. Now make sure your hips are both squared to the front. And again, we're sinking down into this right hip. We want to elongate this muscle here, which tends to get really tight from a lot of sitting that we do in life on a daily basis. One more breath. And then as you exhale, lower the hands down, either touching the mat or placing a block underneath that right hand, and we'll twist open to the left. Either reaching the arm high or wrapping behind the back. And breathe. And see where you can go with your neck into that rotation. And one more breath in. Exhale that hand back down. And then coming back, both hands in the middle, you can swing that left leg around, back to a child's pose, or tuck the toes under, lift the knees, let the hips lift, downward facing dog. If you've done down dog each time, this is your third one, so maybe feeling a little bit more length down the backs of the legs. So we're going to come into a lunge again with the right foot forward. So if you're in down dog, you can lift that right leg up, give it a stretch, and then take a big step forward. And this time we'll do a high crescent lunge. So we'll rise up to support on the thigh. And if your toes are tender, to keep that back foot tucked under, you can step forward a little bit and plant your heel to the floor and come into warrior one in place of your high lunge. Palms can come to heart center again, or we can reach up just as we did in low lunge. But know that you can always drop that back knee down to the mat as well and repeat your low lunge. And one more breath. Then as you exhale, just as we did in low lunge, we'll bring the hands down to the mat. The left hand can find the floor or your block at any height and rotate open into the twist. Option to wrap that arm behind your back. So our high lunge gives us more of a balance challenge than the low lunge with the knee on the mat. So really brace your core, feel your balance working nice and strong through the midsection. And when you're ready, lower the hands down. We'll be switching sides back again through your child's pose or your down dog. One more time. Take your time to get there and make adjustments as needed. Breathe. And then if you're up and down dog, we'll lift that left leg up. If you're in child's pose, just come back up to the knee and step your left foot forward. Make sure it makes it all the way up so that your heel is in a line with your knee. And come up to your high crescent lunge. You can brace on the thigh, palms at your heart, or sweep the arms up. And back heel can drop to warrior one if that feels more comfortable for your toes and your feet. One more breath. And reaching down to the mat, right hand now will be on the floor or your block as we open up. One more twist to the left. Option to wrap the arm behind. And back knee can drop down. But if that back knee is lifted, I want you to try to straighten your leg. It doesn't have to be completely straight, but fire those muscles in your thigh. One more breath in. And then lower the hand down to the mat. And we'll all press back into child's pose, dropping the knees down. Take a little breather and recover. Or you can take one final downward facing dog as well. And then removing any padding that you might have for your knees, we want to clear our mat free. And then we'll come into a forward fold at the top of your mat. So you can take a few steps forward till you come all the way to the top of the mat. Feet can be close together or hips distance apart. And with forward bend, you can support your hands on your blocks, maybe on a chair in front of you, or clasp opposite elbows and let your upper body fold forward into ragdoll pose. And let your knees soften any amount. If your hamstrings are really tight, go ahead and bend those knees. And just let your lower back relax. Then releasing the hands, generously bend the knees as you circle sweep the arms out and up as we come into upward salute. Press the palms together and drop the thumbs into heart center. Then sit your hips back into chair pose. So with chair, we're going to feel a little bit of a stretch in the backs of the ankles. We'll feel the strength of our lower and upper legs, our glutes, also of our core, and shoulder blades are gently pressed back. Now sit that chair down a little bit deeper and start to rotate your body to the right. So your left elbow is coming toward the right thigh, and maybe we can plant it there or just get it kind of close to that position and hold. So some things we can do here with our arms, we can bring the left hand to gently brace across the right knee, and we can open this up again into our twisting chair. We can wrap that top arm behind the lower back. And if you need to be up a little higher, you can be here as well. Doesn't have to be a deep chair pose. And let's take one more breath. As you exhale, come back to heart center. Inhale to rise back up, stretch, giving those legs a little break. And then exhale to sit back into your chair pose. Now, when we're doing a twisting chair, sometimes our knees will start to rotate. And what that means is we're moving our pelvis. So I want you to keep your knees really level as you start to turn to the left this time. And you can take a peek at your knees, and typically the right knee will go forward if you're twisting to your left. So really keep that pulled back into place. And then hold your twisting chair. Option for your right arm to come across the left thigh, your left arm to reach or wrap behind your lower back. Feel your core working. Feel the breath moving. One more inhalation. Exhale back to neutral. Inhale, reach. And just drop the palms to heart center. Take a nice big step back with one foot to turn your body forward so you're facing front. You have a nice wide stance. And let's turn our feet parallel with the front and back edges of your mat. So you have them rotated in, so your thighs are parallel as well. And bring your fists or your palms to the sacrum. And this is just a little bit below the lower back on your hips on either side. And take a standing camel pose. So we'll pull the shoulder blades back, lift the heart up, and allow the hips to slightly press forward. So we're opening up the hip flexors here, lengthening the spine. And if it feels okay for you, allow the front of your throat to open slightly. If that doesn't feel good, just keep your head forward because you can still do the back bend without involving your neck. We'll take one more breath. And then as you exhale, come back up to neutral. Hands can be at your hips as we hinge forward into a wide leg forward fold. Now, if the hands can come to the floor, this is great. If your hamstrings are tight and you're hanging here in space, it's a little bit better to have a block or a chair that you can support your body. Another option, if your hands can reach the mat, is to reach them out like you're doing a downward facing dog and sink down into this wide leg stretch. And holding here 5 breaths. And with each exhalation, try to deepen your stretch. Release any tension in your neck. Two more breaths. Exhaling that final breath will prepare for a twist here. So maybe the hand can be on the floor, or if you're needing a block, bring it to a height that feels comfortable for you. And leave your left hand on the block, right about down from your shoulder or maybe toward the middle of your body. And twist open to that right side. And as we did before, the hand can go behind the back or just place it onto your hip. And really elongate through the crown of your head. With each one of these twists, we want to make sure there's no stress in the vertebrae, no compression, that we feel freedom in the spine. One more breath. And then exhale that right hand down. Inhale, open to the left. Choose the position you like with that arm. And our goal is to get our shoulders to stack one on top of the other, but that's just an avenue we travel toward. For you, it's whatever range of motion you have in your spine. One more breath in. And lower down. Holding right in the center. See if you can deepen that stretch just for 3 breaths. One more inhale. And then as you exhale, hands can come back to your hips. If you need to soften your knees a little bit, that's great as you pull your body back up using the strength of the back body. Reach upward into 5-pointed star. Pivot your heels in and in. Sink down into squat, our goddess squat, and push your knees open. Inhale, reach up, 5-pointed star. Exhale, sink into those legs. 2 more, breathe in. Pull your shoulder blades toward one another as you sink down. And last one. And reaching up to finish. This time, just lower your arms down to about shoulder height. And we'll kick this left heel back and bend the right knee as we come into Warrior Two. And if your arms are sensitive to coming up, palms can be at your heart center. And we'll look over the right fingertips, sending your gaze in that direction. Sinking down and bending that right knee a little deeper, holding our nice warrior. Shoulders are over hips, so we find that nice alignment. And we'll re-straighten that right knee, coming back up, and shifting into triangle pose, we'll reach outward toward that right foot. And then just let the right hand fall wherever it reaches for, with the exception of right on your kneecap. So maybe it's to your shin, or perhaps you can take your block. And if you're using a block, I like to place it behind my leg rather than in front, because in front, it tends to pull our body forward and we come out of our good side alignment. And the top hand can once again wrap behind that lower back as we twist, open, and breathe. And there is just a micro bend in that front knee. We don't want to lock it out. and place any pressure against that ACL ligament. Let's take one more breath here. And then as you exhale, we'll start to re-bend your right knee, pulling yourself back up to warrior two. I'm going to bring my block along with me to switch it to the other side of my mat. And hold that warrior two. And reach the hands behind your back and take a nice chest expansion. Now I do have a yoga strap in front of me, and sometimes that's a nice tool to use. You can bring it behind you to get more length by separating your hands slightly and lifting those arms away from the back body. 2 breaths here in our chest expansion. And 1 more breath. And then release that stretch for the upper body. We'll be moving to the other side for warrior two. So the right foot pivots in, the left foot pivots out, bending that left knee deeply, reaching out into the fingertips or palms at your heart, and take your gaze toward the left side. And make sure you're not leaning forward this way in your warrior two. We want to pull the shoulders back so that it looks like you're standing straight up in mountain pose. So if you couldn't see my body from the hips down, you would think I was just standing straight up. Maybe sink down into that knee a little bit more, hold and breathe. Try not to allow your shoulders to elevate. Really press down. And then we'll prepare for Trikonasana, triangle pose, straightening out that left leg. Start to shift forward, and then notice where your hand just falls, and hold that triangle pose. Using your block, can go behind the leg, and this top arm can wrap behind the back as well. So we're using our core to pull the bottom rib cage forward and the top rib cage back. 3 breaths. Keep reaching, keep stretching. 1 more inhale. Then as you exhale, rebend that knee to pull yourself back up to warrior two. And we'll take 1 more chest expansion stretch so the arms can interlace behind your back, or take hold of your yoga strap, or just bring your hands to your hips and pull your shoulder blades together. Now try not to let your back do a lot of arching here. Sometimes when the arms are behind, we lose this control in our abdominals, so pull in and brace your core as you're stretching. 1 more inhale. And then exhale, releasing the upper body stretch. And then we'll come back to pivot both feet to the front. And we'll move our feet together so you can heel toe your feet or just start to step, step, step until you come to center. Our balance pose today is going to involve a twist. You might need a chair or your wall to help you a little bit with balance. I'm just going to bring my chair over so I have that option to use it if I need. And I'd like you to start by standing on your right leg. And then pick up your left knee and just bring it in front of you. And take the big toe of your right foot and glue it, or of your left foot, because I'm mirroring you, and glue it to the inside of your right thigh. So I'm actually pushing my foot to the inside of my thigh. And this is not tree pose. As tree pose, the knee is open. So I want you to have the knee straight ahead. And then just find your balance here. See if you can stand and breathe. Now, turning our head is really challenging on balance. So I want you to just keep your head straight forward for now and start to turn your body toward this front knee. And you can reach your hand to the knee. You can also reach your left hand behind your body. Ooh, I can find the door so I can hold on to it. Then if you want to move your head, you can go there as well, and your gaze can look behind you. Two more breaths. Very challenging balance pose. I see a little monster. I don't know if you guys can see this, but my cat is looking through the French doors like, Mama, please let me out. I'll be good. But he has to be in there during yoga class. Okay, let's come back to the front. And then drop that leg down. Ooh, do you notice how much your standing leg works when you're doing a balance pose? I feel my calf muscle is fatigued as well as my hip. Let's do that to the other side now. So standing on your left, bring up your right knee and glue the inside of your foot. It's kind of my whole entire instep of the foot to my left leg. And we want the hips to stay forward when we twist our body. So your pelvis is going to be nicely planted here. And maybe today you're just practicing this one and not twisting, which is fine. I think that's what I need to do today. Or when you're ready, start to rotate. We can bring this hand across. And feel free to use your chair or your wall for balance, because you can just maybe use one finger against it and challenge your body. And then maybe the gaze looks over the back shoulder. And you're still pressing your foot to that right or left inner thigh, activating your core. And really lengthen through the crown of the head. Try to be as tall as you can in this balance pose. And then when you're ready, we'll slowly come back to the center line. And then release and shake out those legs. All right, if you used your chair, you can move it away. We're coming onto our back for a reclining twist that we'll be holding for a while, and then also that hip flexor stretch that I talked to you about earlier in class. So you can either use a block for a supported bridge, or maybe a blanket or a cushion, something you can elevate your hips on. Have those next to you so that they're accessible. Let's come down onto our backs. So just for now, we'll be doing a twist, and if you are pretty tight through your spine to twist, then I'd like for you to use your props, maybe your blocks, to allow your legs to rest over onto something so you feel supported. So I'm going to take 2 blocks and my blanket over to my left side. So if you're using props, bring them to your left, and then we'll roll down onto our backs. And for now, just take a nice head to toe stretch, reach up through your fingertips. And then we'll pull our right knee right up into the chest and hug it in. Now this right knee is going to rotate across. And if you're using your props, you're going to set it right onto your block, your pillow, or you can allow it to be free and hold on to it with your left hand. Now our goal is to allow this right shoulder to come back into the floor, and mine is lifted. So I am going to lift my chest up off the mat, turn a little bit more, and see if I can get both shoulder blades onto the floor and hold the twist. There's a lot of options you can do for a reclining twist. So I want you to feel free to take other options as well. And one that is good is just to simply stack your knees together and allow them both to fall over onto your props. That's a little bit less intense, so maybe taking that option today. And then we'll take our head and turn it the opposite direction of your knee. So I have my right knee over on the left side, so I'm going to turn my head to the right. And we'll take 3 breaths here. And really expand the ribs as you're breathing. One more breath. Exhaling completely. We'll bring that right knee back into the chest as we roll over onto our back. And extend the leg up into a hamstring stretch. If you have your yoga strap, you can quickly grab that and place it under the ball of the foot and extend it up and lengthen. So we're going to hold this hamstring stretch about 60 seconds. If you're doing class later on YouTube, hit pause right now and hold this as long as you would like, as long as your body needs today. And try to relax the thigh, relax the lower leg, relax the glute, everything that's being lengthened. Relax your mind as well. Relax through your jaw, through your eyelids, through your forehead, through your neck and your shoulders. And we have about 15 seconds. And one more deep breath in. And then exhale, removing that strap if you're using it. Allow the leg to come back down. Then if you're using your props, we need to move those to the other side of your mat. So I'm just going to slide my 2 blocks over and my blanket on top. And then when you're ready, take a nice big stretch again, head to toe, reach. Inhale, let your rib cage come up. And then exhale, draw your left knee into chest. Then we'll slowly bring that knee across. Allow it to fall on your props. And then you can see how my left shoulder immediately lifted up off the floor. So what I'm going to do is lift my chest up and turn it. And now I can get my shoulder down. If it's still off the mat, it's not a bad thing. It's more relaxing to have this shoulder supported. So sometimes you need to tuck a little bit of a hand towel underneath your shoulder, something so you can completely relax into the pose. And then we'll turn the head to the left this time. And then notice the breath. And if you take deeper breaths, you'll really feel an additional stretch through your spine as you're holding that twist. One last inhale. And as you exhale, Bring your knee back to center as you roll back to your back. And then let that leg unfold into your hamstring stretch. I'm going to use my yoga strap again because I feel like I can relax more when I have that prop to help me with the stretch. 1 minute to hold. And I can really feel a difference today in my left leg. It's a lot tighter. So you might notice differences as well. So just bring that stretch to a comfortable edge for you. Not pushing to the point of pain, just being able to relax for that solid minute. Holding and breathing. And check for any areas of your body you're holding on to tension or gripping. And sometimes we clench our jaw without really noticing. Or we hunch our shoulders up to our ears while we're holding a stretch. We might even hold our breath. So let the breath move, let the body relax. And 15 seconds. Last deep breath in. And then release that leg. And we'll prepare for our lifted hips into our supported bridge. So what I'd like for you to do, if you're using a block or a blanket, we're going to press the hips up by coming into bridge and slide a prop underneath the hips, the sacrum. So we don't want the prop to be in our lower back. We want it to be braced on the hips. And then slide one leg out and lower it down to the mat. And that leg is going to be the one that you'll be doing the stretch through the front of the hip. Now, if you're using a block, it does have 3 heights. So right now I have my block on the lowest height, and I'm not feeling that much of a stretch here. So I'm going to try to lift my block to the next level by flipping it up to medium height and then sliding that leg out. That feels like much more of a stretch. But if you feel any pain in your lower back, then you want to go back down to the lower height. And we can also pull the opposite knee in towards the chest, which will give you a deeper stretch as well. And we'll hold this stretch for 60 seconds. Now, if you don't have anything to tuck underneath your sacrum, I still want you to pull the knee up to your chest, and we'll take wind-relieving pose and just relax that opposite leg down onto the mat. It does give you a little bit of a hip flexor release, a little bit of a stretch there, and it's wonderful for the lower back. And again, finding the breath. Relaxing into that stretch. And we'll take one more breath. And then we'll set the foot back down to the mat. Bend the other knee in so you're back to that supported bridge position. And then slide the other leg out gently. Now I'm stretching my right hip flexor the second time, and the right hip flexor for most of us tends to be tighter than the left. So I feel like on this side, this is too much stretch. So I'm going to take my block and go down again a little bit lower. And that feels better for me on this side. So it doesn't always have to be the same, what you do from right to left side. I'm pulling this left knee up to the chest And we'll hold just about 1 minute's time. And find an equal ratio breath. So when you inhale, maybe count to 3 or 4. And exhale that same amount, 3 or 4. And make the breath rhythmic. And allow it to flow from one breath to the next. And we'll take one more breath here. And then releasing the knee, we'll set the foot flat and either come back to both knees bent, or if you'd like to try both legs straight, you can slide them both out into a supported bridge with straight legs or supported bridge with bent knees. And if you don't have anything under your lower back, same thing, you can leave knees bent or extend both legs out straight. And then I'd like to give you the opportunity to use this pose for Shavasana. If it's not feeling comfortable, then take a moment to go ahead and remove your block out from underneath your hips. And if you've had the block under your hips for just a moment, take a counter stretch and pull your knees toward your chest. And then when you're ready, find a nice comfortable position for just a few breaths in quiet meditation. Finding a comfortable position, allow the breath to slow. And focusing on something you're especially grateful for today, something or someone that has enriched your life over the past year. And if you're feeling today like you need more time in quiet meditation, feel free to remain here for as long as you'd like. There's no rush to rise to a seated position. And if you're ready to find some movement into your body, you can come back one more time into that full body stretch by elongating the arms above the head, reach. And then either rolling over onto your side to press yourself up to seated, or hugging your knees into your chest. You can roll along the length of the spine a couple times until you have enough momentum to bring yourself all the way up. And we'll come back into a comfortable seat the way we began our class this morning. And we'll take 3 breaths together, inhaling, exhaling, either through the nose or mouth. 2 more breaths. And our final breath, allow the palms to come together. Draw the thumbs into the heart center, into our Namaste, our Anjali Mudra. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity this year to teach each and every one of you online. I am so grateful for having you in my life and supporting LisaBug programming. It's been wonderful to have this service during a time when we're a little bit in lockdown and things are uncertain in our world today. So it's wonderful to have this opportunity, and the light and peace and love and joy that resides within me honors the light, the peace, the love, and joy in each of you. Namaste and happy holidays, everyone. Just a reminder, no class tomorrow on the eve of Christmas, and I'll see you next week, Tuesday on Mind Body Blend. If you can stay on for a moment with me after our recording is off, I'd love to check in and say hello. Thank you, everyone.